"Have you dined?" asked Mr. Wickfield, with a motion of his hand towards the table. "Thank ye, I am going to dine," said Mr. Malden, "with my cousin Annie. Good-bye." Mr. Wickfield, without rising, looked after him thoughtfully as he went out. He was rather a shallow sort of young gentleman, I thought, with a handsome face, a rapid utterance, and a confident, bold air. And this was the first time I ever saw of Mr. Jack Malden, whom I had not expected to see so soon, when I heard the doctor speak of him that morning. When we had dined, we went upstairs again, where everything went on exactly as on the previous day. Agnes set the glasses and decanters in the same corner, and Mr. Wickfield sat down to drink, and drank a good deal. Agnes played the piano to him, sat by him, and worked and talked and played some games at dominoes with me. In good time she made tea, and afterwards, when I brought down my books, looked into them and showed me what she knew of them, which was no slight matter, though she said it was, and what was the best way to learn and understand them. I see her with her modest, orderly, placid manner, and I hear her beautiful, calm voice as I write these words. The influence for all good, which she came to exercise over me at a later time, begins already to descend upon my breast. I love little Emily, and I don't love Agnes, no, not at all in that way, but I feel that there are goodness, peace, and truth wherever Agnes is, and that the soft light of the coloured window in the church seen long ago falls on her always, and on me when I am near her, and so on, everything around. The time having come for her withdrawal for the night, and she having left us, I gave Mr. Wickfield my hand, preparatory to going away myself. But he checked me and said, "Should you like to stay with us, Trotwood, or to go elsewhere?" "To stay," I answered quickly. "You are sure?" "If you please, if I may." "Why, it's but a dull life that we lead here, boy, I am afraid," he said. "No more dull for me than Agnes, sir, not dull at all." But, seeing a light in the little round office, and immediately feeling myself attracted towards Uriah Heep, who had a sort of fascination for me, I went in there instead. I found Uriah reading a great fat book, with such demonstrative attention that his lank forefinger followed up every line as he read, and made clammy tracks along the page, or so I fully believed, like a snail. "You are working late tonight, Uriah," says I. "Yes, Master Copperfield," says Uriah. As I was getting on the stool opposite to talk to him more conveniently, I observed he had not such a thing as a smile about him, and that he could only widen his mouth and make two hard creases down his cheeks, one on each side, to stand for one. "I am not doing office work, Master Copperfield," said Uriah. "What work, then?" I asked. "I am improving my legal knowledge, Master Copperfield," said Uriah. "I am going through Tidd's practice. Oh, what a writer Mr. Tidd is, Master Copperfield." My stool was such a tower of observation that, as I watched him reading on again, after this rapturous exclamation, and following up the lines with his forefinger, I observed that his nostrils, which were thin and pointed, with sharp dints in them, had a singular and most uncomfortable way of expanding and contracting themselves, that they seemed to twinkle instead of his eyes, which hardly ever twinkled at all. "I suppose you are quite a great lawyer?" I said, after looking at him for some time. "Me, Master Copperfield?" said Uriah. "Oh, no, I'm a very humble person." It was no fancy of mine about his hands, I observed, for he frequently ground the palms against each other as if to squeeze them dry and warm, besides often wiping them in a stealthy way on his pocket handkerchief. "I am well aware that I am the humblest person going," said Uriah Heep modestly. "Let the other be where he may, my mother is likewise a very humble person. We live in an humble abode, Master Copperfield, but have much to be thankful for. My father's former calling was humble. He was a sexton." "What is he now?" I asked. "Ah, he is a partaker of glory at present, Master Copperfield," said Uriah Heep. "But we have much to be thankful for. How much have I to be thankful for in living with Mr. Wickfield?" I asked Uriah if he had been with Mr. Wickfield long. "I have been with him going on 4 year, Master Copperfield," said Uriah, shutting up his book, after carefully marking the place where he had left off. "Since a year after my father's death. How much have I to be thankful for in that? How much have I to be thankful for in Mr. Wickfield's kind intention to give me my articles, which would otherwise not lay within the humble means of mother and self." "Then, when your article time is over, you'll be a regular lawyer, I suppose?" said I. "With the blessing of Providence, Master Copperfield," returned Uriah. "Perhaps you'll be a partner in Mr. Wickfield's business one of these days," I said, to make myself agreeable. "And it will be Wickfield and Heep, or Heep Late Wickfield." "Oh, no, Master Copperfield," returned Uriah, shaking his head. "I am much too humble for that." He certainly did look uncommonly like the carved face on the beam outside my window as he sat in his humility, eyeing me sideways, with his mouth widened and the creases in his cheeks. "Mr. Wickfield is a most excellent man, Master Copperfield," said Uriah. "If you have known him long, you know it, I am sure, much better than I can inform you." I replied that I was certain he was, but that I had not known him long myself, though he was a friend of my aunt's. "Oh, indeed, Master Copperfield," said Uriah. "Your aunt is a sweet lady, Master Copperfield." He had a way of writhing when he wanted to express enthusiasm which was very ugly, and which diverted my attention from the compliment he had paid to my relation to the snaky twistings of his throat and body. "A sweet lady, Master Copperfield," said Uriah Heep. "She has a great admiration for Miss Agnes, Master Copperfield, I believe." I said, "Yes," boldly, not that I knew anything about it. Heaven forgive me. "I hope you have too, Master Copperfield," said Uriah, "but I am sure you must have." "Everybody must have," I returned. "Oh, thank you, Master Copperfield," said Uriah Heep, "for that remark. It is so true. Humble as I am, I know it is so true. Oh, thank you, Master Copperfield." He writhed himself quite off his stool in the excitement of his feelings, and, being off, began to make arrangements for going home. "Mother will be expecting me," he said, referring to a pale, inexpressive-faced watch in his pocket, "and getting uneasy, for though we are very humble, Master Copperfield, we are much attached to one another. If you would come and see us any afternoon and take a cup of tea at our lowly dwelling, Mother would be as proud of your company as I should be." I said I should be glad to come. "Thank you, Master Copperfield," returned Uriah, putting his book away upon the shelf. "I suppose you stop here some time, Master Copperfield?" I said I was going to be brought up there, I believed, as long as I remained at school. "Oh, indeed!" exclaimed Uriah. "I should think you would come into the business at last, Master Copperfield." I protested that I had no views of that sort, and that no such scheme was entertained in my behalf by anybody, but Uriah insisted on blandly replying to all my assurances. "Oh, yes, Master Copperfield, I should think you would indeed." And, "Oh, indeed, Master Copperfield, I should think you would certainly," over and over again. Being at last ready to leave the office for the night, he asked me if it would suit my convenience to have the light put out, and on my answering yes, instantly extinguished it. After shaking hands with me, his hand felt like a fish in the dark. He opened the door into the street a very little, and crept out and shut it, leaving me to grope my way back into the house, which cost me some trouble and a fall over his stool. This was the proximate cause, I suppose, of my dreaming about him, for what appeared to me to be half the night, and dreaming, among other things, that he had launched Mr. Peggotty's house in a piratical expedition with a black flag at the masthead bearing the inscription "Tid's Practice," under which diabolical ensign he was carrying me and little Emily to the Spanish Main to be drowned. I got a little the better of my uneasiness when I went to school the next day, and a good deal better the next day, and so shook it off by degrees, that in less than a fortnight I was quite at home and happy among my new companions. I was awkward enough in their games, and backward enough in their studies, but custom would improve me in the first respect, I hoped, and hard work in the second. Accordingly, I went to work very hard, both in play and in earnest, and gained great commendation, and in a very little while the Murdstone and Grimby life became so strange to me that I hardly believed in it, while my present life grew so familiar that I seemed to have been leading it a long time. Dr. Strong's was an excellent school, as different from Mr. Creakle's as good is from evil. It was very gravely and decorously ordered, and on a sound system, with an appeal in everything to the honour and good faith of the boys, and an avowed intention to rely on their possession of those qualities, unless they proved themselves unworthy of it, which worked wonders. We all felt that we had a part in the management of the place, and in sustaining its character and dignity. Hence, we soon became warmly attached to it. I am sure I did for one, and I never knew, in all my time, of any other boy being otherwise, and learned with a good will, desiring to do it credit. We had noble games out of hours, and plenty of liberty, but, even then, as I remember, we were well spoken of in the town, and rarely did any disgrace by our appearance or manner to the reputation of Dr. Strong and Dr. Strong's boys. Some of the higher scholars boarded in the doctor's house, and through them I learned, at second hand, some particulars of the doctor's history, as how he had not yet been married 12 months to the beautiful young lady I had seen in the study, whom he had married for love, for she had not a sixpence, and had a world of poor relations, so our fellows said, ready to swarm the doctor out of house and home. Also, how the doctor's cogitating manner was attributable to his being always engaged in looking out for Greek roots, which, in my innocence and ignorance, I supposed to be a botanical furor on the doctor's part, especially as he always looked at the ground when he walked about, until I understood that they were roots of words with a view to a new dictionary which he had in contemplation. Adams, our head boy, who had a turn for mathematics, had made a calculation, I was informed, of the time this dictionary would take in completing on the doctor's plan, and at the doctor's rate of going. He considered that it might be done in 1,649 years, counting from the doctor's last or 62nd birthday. But the doctor himself was the idol of the whole school, and it must have been a badly composed school if he had been anything else, for he was the kindest of men, with a simple faith in him that might have touched the stone hearts of the very urns upon the wall, as he walked up and down that part of the courtyard which was at the side of the house, with the stray rooks and jackdaws looking after him with their heads cocked slyly, as if they knew how much more knowing they were in worldly affairs than he. If any sort of vagabond could only get near enough to his creaking shoes to attract his attention to one sentence of a tale of distress, that vagabond was made for the next 2 days. It was so notorious in the house that the masters and head boys took pains to cut these marauders off at angles, and to get out of windows and turn them out of the courtyard before they could make the doctor aware of their presence, which was sometimes happily effected within a few yards of him, without his knowing anything of the matter, as he jogged to and fro. Outside his own domain, and unprotected, he was a very sheep for the shearers. He would have taken his gaiters off his legs to give way. In fact, there was a story current among us. I have no idea, and never had, on what authority, but I believed it for so many years that I feel quite certain it is true, that on a frosty day, one winter time, he actually did bestow his gaiters on a megwoman who occasioned some scandal in the neighbourhood by exhibiting a fine infant from door to door, wrapped in those garments which were universally recognised, being as well known in the vicinity as the cathedral. The legend added that the only person who did not identify them was the doctor himself, who, when they were shortly afterwards displayed at the door of a little second-hand shop of no very good repute, where such things were taken in exchange for gin, was more than once observed to handle them approvingly, as if admiring some curious novelty in the pattern, and considering them an improvement on his own. It was very pleasant to see the doctor with his pretty young wife. He had a fatherly, benignant way of showing his fondness for her, which seemed in itself to express a good man. I often saw them walking in the garden where the peaches were, and I sometimes had a nearer observation of them in the study or the parlour. She appeared to me to take great care of the doctor, and to like him very much, though I never thought her vitally interested in the dictionary, some cumbrous fragments of which work the doctor always carried in his pockets and in the lining of his hat, and generally seemed to be expounding to her as they walked about. I saw a good deal of Mrs. Strong, both because she had taken a liking for me on the morning of my introduction to the doctor, and was always afterwards kind to me and interested in me, and because she was very fond of Agnes and was often backwards and forwards at our house. There was a curious constraint between her and Mr. Wickfield, I thought, of whom she seemed to be afraid, that never wore off. When she came there of an evening, she always shrunk from accepting his escort home, and ran away with me instead. And sometimes, as we were running gaily across the cathedral yard together, expecting to meet nobody, we would meet Mr. Jack Maldon, who was always surprised to see us. Mrs. Strong's mamma was a lady I took great delight in. Her name was Mrs. Markleham, but our boys used to call her the old soldier on account of her generalship and the skill with which she marshalled great forces of relations against the doctor. She was a little, sharp-eyed woman, who used to wear, when she was dressed, one unchangeable cap, ornamented with some artificial flowers, and two artificial butterflies supposed to be hovering above the flowers. There was a superstition among us that this cap had come from France, and could only originate in the workmanship of that ingenious nation, but all I certainly know about it is that it always made its appearance of evening wheresoever Mrs. Markleham made her appearance, that it was carried about to friendly meetings in a Hindu basket, that the butterflies had the gift of trembling constantly, and that they improved the shining hours at Dr. Strong's expense like busy bees. I observed the old soldier, not to adopt the name disrespectfully, to pretty good advantage on a night which I made memorable to me by something else I shall relate. It was the night of a little party at the doctor's, which was given on the occasion of Mr. Jack Maldon's departure for India, whither he was going as a cadet or something of that kind. Mr. Wickfield having at length arranged the business, it happened to be the doctor's birthday too. We had had a holiday, had made presents to him in the morning, and made a speech to shed tears. And now, in the evening, Mr. Wickfield, Agnes, and I went to have tea with him in his private capacity. Mr. Jack Maldon was there, before us. Mrs. Strong, dressed in white with cherry-coloured ribbons, was playing the piano when we went in, and he was leaning over her to turn the leaves, the clear red and white of her complexion, as usual, I thought, when she turned round, but she looked very pretty, wonderfully pretty. "I have forgotten, Doctor," said Mrs. Strong's mamma, when we were seated.